86,000 miles per second, it occurred to me that it's about time that I proved in court once for all that these Cablevision policies, rules, and procedures have no statutory authority. They have no standing. And Cablevision has no power to enforce anything as ridiculous and as unconscionable as they are. Callagy begs to prejudice and bias the court, and this is his only hope. Judge Tolman, will you please sign Glendora's papers on February 11th, 05 to keep Glendora's show on Cablevision in Peekskill. ECOC does not present any papers from Cablevision. The only ECOC Cablevision came from Cecilia. What did Cecilia say to ECOC? What did Savarino say to ECOC? The person accompanying Glendora on October the 18th, Monday, at 4:30 p.m. in court was and still is Mary Ramage, Mohegan Lake. Mary is Glendora's signer for Cablevision Yorktown, and has been for years. Glendora wanted the court to ask Mary if she enjoyed being a signer, if it had been fun, and if anything bad had ever happened. And will she do it again? Mary and Glendora have had good times together since we met a long time ago, and we met over her signing the Cablevision Yorktown papers for me. The same applies to Zeke Hunter, who signed years ago for the Cross River system, where Glendora is on 2 hours every Friday night. George Paris, who signed years ago for New Rochelle Pelham, and James Cahagan, who signed years ago for the Rockland system. Andy Poland, who signed years ago for the Brookhaven Long Island system. Taylor Holbrook, who signed years ago for Wappingers. Bob Angelo, who signed years ago for Ossining. Kelly Burness, who signed years ago for the Nassau County system. That's a big system, 430,000 subscribers. Lori Calgano, who signed years ago for the Hauppauge system. That's another 60,000 subscribers. To Betty Ann Smith, who signed years ago for the Bergen County, New Jersey system, ad infinitum. All ECOC had to do was to talk to these signers instead of turning her back on Glendora, free speech in the USA. McQuaid Callagy whined that ECOC has been harassed by Glendora. Well, I think it's pretty obvious to you folks who's been harassed. But of acuity, as Glendora has presented to the court, can effortlessly see, it is Glendora who has been harassed by Cecilia, Savarino, Dolan, Toddick, Harrison, Cablevision, Callagy, McQuaid, Budil et al. And Glendora found out tonight that her Harrison Town Court judge is out of the hospital and is in and out of his office, so he's a little better. Glendora wanted to send him a get well card, but she couldn't do it without sending a copy to the other side. And I refused to do that. That's reductio ad absurdum. I have Cablevision at the moment in the Rye City Court. Well, actually, that's gone to the appellate court. In the Harrison Town Court, in the Phillipstown Town Court, and in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit, Richmond, Virginia. I sued them in the United States District Court in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, here is a zinger. Motion pursuant to a CPLR analog to Rule 55 Federal Rules of Civil Procedure for default judgment. ECOC did not appear. McQuaid, Callagy, and Sadley failed to produce Carmody weight proof of authorization to represent ECOC. Indeed, McQuaid didn't even have a business card. Ergo, Glendora is entitled to a $3,000 judgment by default, costs, and disbursements, and all further relief just and proper. This was dated October the 26th. Yours in truth and in amor patriae, Glendora. A Chat with Glendora is on 45 TV stations. There'll be 450 municipalities, including Washington, D.C. And it is on the internet. There are 16 more coming. 16 more coming. Half-hour programs of A Chat with Glendora on the internet, www.achatwithglendora.com. You can watch them on your computer screen just the way you watch them on a TV screen. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, Glendora is entitled to $3,000, the costs and disbursements, and any further relief just and proper. Dated October 26, 2004, Anno Domini. And Glendora's service list is the original to the clerk, to Callaghy, to Ecock, to Charles F. Dolan and Cablevision, to John Tata and Cablevision, to George McDermott, All-American Hero in Washington, D.C., to the Center for Judicial Accountability, Incorporated, More Heroes Fighting Corruption, and to the Glendora TV audience, you, all important, and the Glendora Internet audience. And this paper costs $65.82 to print and post. Why not? It's 130 pages, and it took 22 hours. But I think that has to be augmented to like 28 hours. Okay, that's it. Welcome to Glendora, cheerful look at life. 1 minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor. And the stock investor says that he buys Sweet Chariot stocks. As soon as he buys them, they swing low. And the stockbroker says, you'd be surprised how many people come up to my office in a Lincoln and with a chauffeur to get advice from a guy who comes to work on the bus. Edgar said that he could shoot himself because 20 years ago he had an opportunity to invest in Federal Express, but he didn't because he thought it was a fly-by-night company. And one stockbroker at Christmas time hangs mistletoe over his door so that his clients can kiss their money goodbye. The Wall Street tycoon drove up to his house after work at night, and his neighbor says, "Hi, John, what's the latest dope on Wall Street?" John says, "My son Irving, he just started working for the company." The little girl says, "Mother, is it true? The Bible says we come from dust and return to dust." The mother says, "Yes." And the little girl says, "I looked under the couch and somebody's coming or going." And summertime is when Americans put aside the Rubik Cube and face the all-time challenge, how to refold a roadmap. And Bob says it's getting harder and harder for him to support this government in the custom to which, or in the style to which it has become accustomed. And somebody asked a famous author, what is your greatest work of fiction? And the famous author said, my income tax form. And the boss says that Peter, at least he's honest. When he made out his 1040 form, at least he said half of his income was unearned. Now, Harry is talking to God, and he says, God, how much is $1 million to you? And God said $10. And Harry says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, a second. And Harry says, God, could you loan me $10? And God says, certainly. Just a second. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. A minute of good cheer, goodwill, and good humor brought to you by... Would you like to go out now and see the eclipse? The earth comes between the moon and the sun. isn't that interesting? The Earth between the moon and the sun. Oh, it's so interesting. It's interesting because it happened when the moon is full, right? The harvest moon? Or almost full or something. Oh, that's so interesting. I'm sorry I can't hold it steadily. I need a tripod, but I'm not coming out here with a tripod at this hour of the day. Oh. It's the Earth's shadow on the moon. The terrestrial ball on the lunar ball. Oh, this is wonderful. It's clear, folks. It's clear. We can see the morning sunrise. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies. Wasn't that spectacular last night? You could actually see the earth outlined on the moon. You could see the shadow that the earth was making on the moon. And we were standing on the earth looking at the shadow we were making on the moon. The animals do not like Triscuits. They do not like expensive Triscuits. Look at the heavy frost that we had last night. It's pretty cold. You know what I'd love to do today, folks? I'd just love to sit down at the new titler and put the messages on the TV screen, the words on the TV screen. But I gotta do legal papers. I gotta fight public access. And the people who abscond with it, John Totter, Charles Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation, Mac Budil, Thomas Garger, Miles Rich, Christine Savarino, Cecilia Mastrovilli. I have to fight for public access. And who else fights for public access harder? Well, I think maybe Zabby. Zabby was going off to Huntington because they're going to do the same thing in Huntington, that the crooked thing they did in Southampton, sell public access down the drain. Cablevision again, oh, I'd be so glad when that company is a nothing and is swallowed up and digested. So that's what I got to do. Glendora versus Charles F. Dolan, Cablevision Systems Corporation in the appellate term, the appeals court, Supreme Court, state of New York, 9th and 10th Judicial Districts, 2nd Department.
People think that barbershop harmony is confined to certain songs, which now, I guess at one time maybe it was, but nowadays we have many fine arrangers, and in our chorus we have an up-and-coming arranger, Judy Dwyer. Judy is right here.
Oh! The song that you wrote into our theme song and give us a play of it right now.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
A Chat with Glendora is my favorite show. She'll tell you all the things that you need to know to live a good life, to prosper and grow. A Chat with Glendora is my favorite show. The chemtrails, the crooked courts, the liars for hire. She'll tell you a joke and then make you smile. She'll tell you all good things that you need to know. A Chat with Glendora is my favorite show. There's cat's tales and wives' tales and long talks with God. There's interviews and recipes and even my dog. There's singing, there's dancing, there's you and there's me. So please watch Glendora on cable TV.
Again, so be careful. Another common tactic was folks impersonating Medicare employees. They were calling you, and this has happened, and telling you that your coverage is about to expire. They need your credit card to renew your coverage. That's a red flag. Scam, scam, scam. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm just going to give a few examples, a few tips too. Number one, report suspected cases of fraud or abuse. If you're being charged for a service you did not receive, report it immediately. Number two, report any incident when someone from, quote, Medicare calls you up and tries to sell you something over the phone. Medicare does not sell anything. Do not conduct healthcare business with anyone who comes to your door. Resist being pressured into giving out any personal identifying information over the phone, over the internet, or in person, unless you know who you're talking with and you trust that person, you've done business with them, and the same goes for Medicare. And check with your personal doctor about any new services or treatments before you commit to them. My purpose in being here today is to try to protect you. We do prosecute cases of healthcare fraud in my office, a lot of them. And some of the bad actors are people who try to sell services or try to claim credit for services they didn't sell. But we also see a lot of senior citizens in this state who come to us after they've lost their money and they can't pay their bills. So please, don't be one of them. Keep your antennas up, read this information, and remember, if you have any questions about whether somebody is legitimate or not, you can call my office, you can call Diana Scully, you can call your area agency on aging, and you can ask. If you have any question, you can ask, okay? Thank you.
And we'll let them know that we're paying attention, and if we find that there are tactics going on, we're shutting them down. We're finding them, we're taking care of them. Because we're very concerned that too much money is spent on fraudulent tactics. Brian mentioned, the Attorney General mentioned a few things. I want to kind of back up with that and say to add a little bit more credits to that. We were at an event just a few days ago, 'cause we've been all over the country on the Medicare bus. And at an event yesterday, one of the seniors mentioned that a pharmacist had filled a prescription incorrectly. She had this one drug that she was taking, which is 50 milligrams, and he filled it with 25 milligrams. Now, normally you would think, well, I'll just take 2, because 2 is the same as equivalence as 50, right? 25 and 25 makes the 50. But one of the things that happens in that situation is that the pharmacist will bill Medicare for the higher cost drug. So guess who pays for the lower cost? We do have our tax dollars. We want to avoid those kinds of scams. We had a scam a couple years ago, and this was the creme de la crop, actually. This provider or this entity was calling seniors' homes saying, we're going to provide you with drugs, prescription drugs for a lifetime. And all you have to do is give me your credit card number, and it's only going to cost you $299 for a lifetime of drugs. Does that sound too good to be true? Guess what? It was too good to be true. Many seniors fell prey to that. So you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you actually are a victim of these scams, a victim of fraud, a victim of identity theft. So today being Halloween, you don't want those ghosts and goblins in your business, okay? So make sure.
And I know that the congressman is focusing on these as well, because after all, Medicare is a 100% federally funded program. So thanks for being here, Mark, and thanks for the work of Congressman Allen. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Diana Scully. She's the Director of the Office of Elder Affairs for the state of Maine, to talk about some of the work she's doing.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon I'm actually here on behalf of our Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Brenda Harvey. But I am very glad to have this opportunity. At first I thought you were having maybe a rowdy party in here because all the pictures are awry, but I guess that's the trick part of trick or treat. So you're all in the spirit of the day. I want to thank our federal partners for coming to Maine from Boston, and I know you've been on the road a lot, just to help remind us that we need to be vigilant and careful about the upcoming enrollment period. It's a very important thing that you're doing, and we appreciate it. I also want to thank the Attorney General, Steve Rowe, for the work that he does and his staff do to help all of us in Maine, and in this case in particular, to help protect older folks and adults from fraud and abuse. He's a wonderful spokesperson, and we're lucky to have him. This is for the elderly, for the Senior Medicare Patrol project that we do here in Maine. You know, we have over 60 both volunteers and staff people who are helping seniors address issues, and, you know, be protected from fraud and abuse. And their efforts are so important, and we appreciate them so much. So we really, really do thank you very, very much. We've been involved in this work at the end of these comments and try to keep them short for you. If you have issues, you may call 1-877-353-3771 from anywhere in the state of Maine to reach your local area agency on aging. And since it's in one of the handouts that you have on the table, 9200, and you all know the area code 207. So anyway, one other point, I just want to say that during the first 6 months of this year, through those volunteers, the 60 volunteers and staff, we've reached 3,800 people to help them. And, you know, that's a lot of people in a short time. So I have a feeling the pace will even pick up more as this enrollment period comes along. So thank you very much, everybody, and be careful, be vigilant, and we're here to help as well.
Thank you so much, Diana, and thanks to all of you for coming on up and visiting with us. We know we interrupted your card game downstairs, so we want to get you back to it. But we are so grateful you're willing to spend part of this beautiful day with us. And finally,